have the vast majority of everyone who's joining us today. Um, Thank you for coming. Uh, I just want to say from the C3 group, we really appreciate your time. We really hope the changes that were announced and were implemented in April 15th will improve everybody's experience with the database. Of course, as we go through all the changes that we've made, uh, please feel free, as you interact with it, please speak up if anything isn't quite working the way you hoped, or if you need any assistance. Please feel free to voice how your experience with any of the changes, or anything with our data in general in moving forward. So uh, I apologize. So today we're going to go over um, how the database itself is changing as far as the architecture of the project profile itself. So that individual project view for what was formerly named the electric transmission database. Now the name is more reflective of several different elements of that database. And so we'll go over those changes as well as the different new fields that are available, um, and how filtering with those new fields functions overall. Uh, So back when we got started in the early 2000s, um, you know, uh, we had named the database the North American Electric Transmission Project Database. Uh, we had never prevented distribution level projects from entering the database, unlike our competitors. However, over time, the transmission database has larger and larger distribution level programs and projects that are being captured. So we're updating that name to the North American Electric Transmission and Distribution Project Database. Uh, this change is really reflective of the fact in the last 10 years, distribution programs have really morphed into more trackable programs that we can more easily represent in the database with much larger lead times. Um, Previously, when we had started the database, distribution level work there was not a very long lead time. So being able to report and capture that information um, was difficult. Also, a lot of the distribution program information was not as publicly available. So being able to at least capture more distribution programs and projects has been growing, and continues to grow in our database. Now the transmission projects do dominate the vast majority of what's in our data, and we still recommend purchasing the annual electric distribution forecast, because the distribution forecast, unlike the programs and projects, is a 360-degree view of CapEx spend in those distribution programs. So it's a much more 360-degree view. Uh, a lot of the smaller distribution programs and projects are not publicly available and are not able to be captured. So the database is still predominantly transmission projects, um, uh, but we do have a large set of distribution programs that we are tracking throughout this database. The more dramatic change that was implemented on April 15th was an overhaul of the individual project view. So many of you may interact with your custom reports or reports from the home pages. But when you drill down to that individual project view, we've really streamlined the overall look of the individual project, as well as with these new fields, we're able to capture so much more information all within one field. So it kind of gives you a better comprehensive overview of what's in the project, without as much scrolling involved when viewing an individual project. And we'll go in more detail about what that looks like in a minute. Um, so I touched on the new fields that are available. So those new fields are project types, plural, project elements, as well as structure types. So you can see those new fields on our homepage. If you set your reports, your custom reports under your user seat to the default columns, you will also see those new fields. Um, this isn't necessarily new data, but rather it's just packaging how we showed the information per project. So, and this, and by the way, this PDF of this presentation was linked in the email announcement and is also linked on our homepage. Um, but basically, back when we started in the early 2000s, we had a drop-down list, a project type that always was a growing, never-ending list of different elements that a project could contain in its project types. So for example, you could have a project that was a line rebuild, a substation upgrade, and have a SCADA element to it, or have you know numerous components to it. So that drop down list was very sort of stagnant and didn't really break out all the details of the project. So what we've done is we've broken up what was captured in this old project type field into project types and then project elements. So those other components that are involved in the project. So we're splitting up the information. In project types, every project will be fundamentally one or more or all of these 5 predominant project types. So it'll either be a new line, a line upgrade, a new substation, a new switching station, or it could be a substation or switching station upgrade. So it can be, a project can contain all 5 of these, or it could be, only one of these elements. Occasionally, there will be an other project type where it'll just say other, which for those types of other would apply more to minor things such as maybe substation security equipment, or physical security, or say like a SAG study. That's only, but it's very rare that other category would appear. It would almost always predominantly, the project will be or one or more of these predominant project types. Project elements. So in the old profile view, what you would have seen, which is now being captured under project elements, is a lot of checkboxes. So you would have seen one that said, oh, this is an HVDC project. Oh, this has, it's crossing the wetlands. Oh no, this is a tap or a loop. It would be all these different checkboxes that would cover properties of a line upgrade, or a line or new line project, or substation properties um, that are now all contained in the project elements field. Here's just a clean list of what it will look like, the list of every project element that this could be listed in within this field. So we have, pretty much just put all of those checkboxes into one field, so that if you're looking for a particular element of a project, you only have to filter one field. So this next slide is a bit duplicative of what we just talked about. In the report view, the way it'll show up, in the old view, it would have been, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 columns that you may have had to add in order to get the same information in these 2 predominant fields, project types and project elements, in the new report view. Um, so for structure types, in the old view, you would have had these checkboxes here. In the new view, we've just summarized it in structure types. You still have access to the total number of structures and the accuracy of the count on structures, as well as we used to call this structure narratives. We used to call, I think it was structure description. In the structure narrative, we'll either directly quote what the source said was involved with structures in that project, or if the analyst has made some assumptions or estimates, we'll say, I assumed monopole based on, what the analyst knows about the particular utility, the project, the voltage size, or if they're estimating the total, we always put estimate if it's an estimate rather exact. Um, but again, in the narrative, the analyst will put in their comments as to how they achieved this information. This is how it will look different for structure types. In the old report view, again, you would have had to have numerous columns with checkboxes. Now you're able to just filter it down in one structure type column. Um, while all of these new fields are available in our homepage reports, and you already have access to all this information, any reports you have saved under your current user seat will not automatically update itself. We've posted YouTube videos on what we're covering here today in the training on how to update your custom reports to reflect the new fields. However, if you, for any reason, would prefer us to update your individual custom reports, you can always email us at, that's my email address. But we have the 3 email addresses here in our presentation, myself, Austin, or Emily. If you give us permission, we can go in and update your current reports to reflect all these new fields. Or the YouTube channel that we have, as well as this training today, will go over how to update any existing reports and how to filter with the new reports, the new fields. In the presentation, I'm not going to go over it today, but know that there are appendices that go over in detail how the new project profile looks and interacts, as well as a comprehensive list of project field definitions. And so I'm just going to now switch over to show you the what it looks like in your view and how to apply these new fields. Apologies, my internet is just being slightly slow, but we'll get switched over here. Okay. As I mentioned already, the recording of this training, as well as the how-to guides, the shorter videos on how to update your reports, are on our YouTube channel. If you Google the C3 group, it should come up, or go to YouTube. They're also linked on our homepage, as well as in our announcements in the weekly emails. So to find your custom reports underneath your user seats, there's several paths. You may be getting an email already from your custom report. It'll say something like your subscription to, and you'll see those reports, and you can always click on, it'll say, this is the electric transmission and distribution database. Click here to see this report, and you can click and it'll automatically open that report, and you can edit the report from there. Additionally, if you log on to our client portal, the QuickBase portal at c3.net, client login at the top, what you'll find when you log in the normally when you log in, it'll it'll bring you to this purplish page. You can go to the database itself, and then from the home page, under Hi Your Name in the upper right hand corner, you can actually see my personal settings in this app. And from there, you can see any email subscriptions you have. And then on the left-hand side, you can see any custom reports you have saved under your individual user seat. And I'm going to just go ahead and pull up this one here for us to talk about, come back to later. If you go to the custom report in that manner, it'll automatically default to bringing you to the the edit your report view, which is here in the right-hand corner. It looks like a little photo edit button. Additionally, you can always see any reports that are saved under your user seat. If you're on this light gray bar and under saved reports, there's a reports and charts dropdown that allows you to see anything that you have viewed recently, anything that you have saved under your user seat, and anything we have out here in the database. And all the reports that are in the common view will have the new fields automatically. Again, in your custom reports, it will not automatically update. So in the new view for the reports, you'll see by default, if your reports by default have the columns placed, you'll see project types with this, you'll see sort of like a bubble around each project type. And that is an indication that it's a multi-select field. So any of these multi-select fields will appear in the dynamic filter here on the top half of the report. And if you click, it'll show you all the different selection. So say if you were trying to do only a line upgrade and new line projects, you can just select those and it'll automatically filter down to those project types. And you'll see a green flag that will pop up here. And you can save your report as and line projects. Okay. And you can hover on the hyperlink, and again, you'll be able to see, okay, I've selected line upgrade and new line. This particular report, I had filtered it out so that it would specifically show you the new fields filled out. But like, for example, say if you were you land on the home page and you're interested in seeing line projects by AEP, you can click on the button on the home page at AEP, Joint Ventures, and you can say here where the dynamic filters are, you can click on project types, line, new line. And save report as. And if you click on the hyperlink, you can see that this report includes line upgrades, new line, as well as, and this is a slightly new feature, any of the homepage reports, they're automatically set to filter for the current year or greater, and it's looking at between 2022 to 2030. And it's also including 2100, so those unknown reported in-service dates. And then you can also see any other additional utilities that are being filtered down. Say if you go to the reports and charts and you find uh, under your uh, under your seat, you find uh, substation active development would be kind of an example. You can always uh, customize your report here in the upper right hand corner, and you can add any of the new columns. So if you type, this report already has the old one, the new ones in there, but you can always set to default, and that will populate everything that is new, as well as the other default ones that are commonly of interest. And then you would scroll down to initial filters. And so this says project type will be sunsetting. You want to click on that, and you can type asterisks or you can type project types, and select project types includes the value um, new substation. And then you want to bump this forward and say project types includes, uh, you can say new switching station. You can say, you can add another one and say project types includes the value substation and switching station upgrades. So if you wanted to have not just new, but the upgraded substations, that's what you would do. While this may take a few more filters, this makes this much more accurate as far as grabbing every project that could potentially be related uh, to a substation project. Additionally, with the new project types and project elements, one of the features that it adds, um, that we commonly got requests for, if say you wanted to look at, say you're in the conductor business and you want to see all new line projects as well as line rebuild and reconductors. You now have the ability to say, okay, I want the project types to include new line, and then if the line upgrade includes a line rebuild, I want to see that line rebuild. Or if it involves reconductoring, you're able to sort of put that any argument and filter across these these types to sort of get down to fundamentally what you're looking for. And same thing with the structure type. In the individual project view, so that's the view that where you click on the view icon. What you'll see is the name of the project at the top. You still have access to fundamentally all the same fields. They're just sort of packaged a bit differently, with the project overview um, covering the main fields, including those new ones here on the top half of the project. So a very streamlined snapshot. Um, and then you can also see, for the time being until it's fully retired, the old project type. So in this particular example, this interconnection, it was predominantly a new line, a new substation for this interconnection, but there was also a switching station, and we didn't used to have that ability to filter in that way. And so now new line, new substation, new switching station. Um, and then you can see the project elements to tap involves communication equipment and line, transformers, breakers, terminal equipment, bus work. It ends and begins in the state of Ohio. Under location information, the drop down here below, you still have access to the same fields you always did. So in point one state, Ohio, in point one state two, Ohio, as well as any of the RTO and interconnecting information. Under ownership is where you'll find if we have, um, the holding company, um, co-owners, ownership details, any project contact information we might have. And if we have any identified contractors, that information would be provided there. For project description, you know, in the old view, when we didn't collapse these sections, you had to scroll and scroll to get to the bottom. Now you can really quickly get to the information you might be the most interested in. And, this is a good example of a very large project that has a very extensive description in it. But if you're really just trying to sum up and find out what this project's about, you have that information here at the top. And then if you're interested in the components and all the different totals, number of switching stations, number of transformers involved, breakers, etc., it's all listed under elements and component totals, as well as structure and conductor details, the total number, the narrative, as well as the structure count accuracy. Already went over location information. Project history. We'll always provide a hyperlink. If you subscribe to any of the other databases, you can see the actual generation project that this is tied to. This particular project is also tied to a pipeline project. So we have it linked to 2 different databases. And of course, we'll provide the project profile history with the month, the year, when we found it, where we found it, and every time we do a major update, we provide what has changed, if anything has changed. If there's no changes or nothing new to report, we will also indicate that, along with the data source IDs that might be tied to it, earliest documentation found for it. And, you can see it was originally reported to go in service in 2020, and now it's being reported for 2022, an in-service date, as well as any cost changes to it. And project news, so negative or positive, we always attach the news story, and so you can always reference that information. If you are an active user in the database, sometimes if you click on any report, whether under your user seat or on our homepage, QuickBase, and this is very specifically a QuickBase sort of feature. The toggle, it's called New Style and Old Style. It's in the upper right-hand corner. It tends to remember which is your preferred style. So if you are commonly deselecting this toggle, in the old view, this is what it would look like. It basically shifts what were the dynamic filters on the top to the left-hand side here, so you can still see the new project types field, as well as other project elements contained within the report, and as well the traditional fields that you've always had access to. Additionally, in the new view, and we realize that QuickBase has introduced a few new features that we haven't covered necessarily in the past extensively, but in one of the features in any QuickBase report in the new view with the toggle selected, you can collapse down the grouping. So this particular project is being grouped by utility name, and you can see the number of projects that are in with each grouping. Just know that some reports are so large that they will have numbers of pages here at the bottom. So sometimes if you don't see a grouping listed, it could be on the next page. Another thing to keep in mind, say if you're editing your existing report in the new view and you decide to switch to the old view. So for example, if I go here to project elements and I say show more columns, so I clicked on the three dots on the column and I start to type asterisks to get some of the new fields in here, like structure types. That green flag, if you hit the toggle before you hit save, it'll actually forget any changes you made. So you always want to make sure to hit save. And then if you want to switch to the old view, one feature that many people liked in the old view is if you wanted to swap around the columns, you could more easily in the old view, such as dragging and dropping the columns. And then when you make a change in the old view, instead of having the green flag up here, you have to hit save up here in this light blue. Additionally, in the old view with it deselected, you're able to star it as your favorite, and you're also able to sign up under the more for new email subscriptions. So once you get a custom report set up the way you like and you want it to come, monthly, weekly, daily, you can have that report arrive in your inbox as often as you want. Even if you're interested in quarterly, let me know. We can definitely set something up like that for you. I feel like I've talked a lot. I know it's a lot of information to take in, but we really are open to feedback. And I mean, do you have any questions at this time? I'm gonna take the silence as no, you're good to go. Just as a reminder, if you do want us to customize reports, please shoot us an email. We will be sunsetting the old project types gradually because many of you have existing reports and we don't want them to be broken. So we will be very slowly retiring it, but we do feel it'll be an added benefit. If you even just look at playing around with it, you can really get a good sense of like how you're able to narrow the report to maybe reflect something that you're more interested in on a planning level. So we highly recommend. You can't break it. If there's no further questions, thank you for your time. Oh,
Eileen, sorry, will you be sending out the PowerPoint that you went over? Because I wasn't writing down the email addresses and stuff in the websites fast
yeah.
enough.
Yes, I can
Okay,
send that.
perfect.
Absolutely, no problem.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, Eileen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eileen.
Bye.
Thank you.